fired. 1247, copy, shots fired.
I'm angry and I'm sad all at the same time.
We definitely don't want to be MIA.
Wisconsin now, where 3 days of protests have taken over the state capital of Madison.
No charges should be brought against Officer Kinney in the death of Tony Robinson Jr.
This is politics and not justice.
No charges. A Madison police officer cleared of wrongdoing in the shooting death of Tony Robinson.
Now a community deeply shaken fights for change. Our live team coverage is throughout Madison with Valina Jones downtown where Tony Robinson supporters are marching.
And Matthew Simon at Willie Street where Robinson's family spoke a short time ago. But first, News 3's Jessica Arp was in the room as the Dane County DA announced the reasons behind his decision. Jessica?
Well, the entirety of the explanation from the district attorney today took about 26 minutes, but it carried the weight of months of the investigation and years of perspective. Dane County DA Ishmael Ozan, the state's first black district attorney, set the stage for his decision, saying his life experience led him not to make his decision lightly.
I am the son of a black woman who still worries about my safety from the bias of privilege and violence that accompanies it.
But Ozan reminded that would not affect how he reviewed the case.
My decision is not based on emotion. Rather, this decision is based on the facts as they have been investigated and reported to me.
Ozan says the facts from hundreds of documents, interviews, videos, photos, and reports showed 3 911 calls from Willie Street saying Tony Robinson was on drugs and attacking multiple people.
It was reported Tony was tweaking, chasing everybody, and is really outrageous right now.
Officer Matt Kenny was told of those facts before he showed up at the home. Hearing a disturbance, he went upstairs, forced entry to the apartment, and announced himself.
And someone yelled, "Well, the police are here." He said Tony Robinson immediately turned the corner and struck him with a closed fist on the left side of his head.
Ozan says the attack continued, Kenny fearing for his life, ultimately firing 7 shots at close range and killing Robinson.
I conclude that this tragic and unfortunate death was the result of a lawful use of deadly police force, and that no charges should be brought against Officer Kinney in the death of Tony Robinson Jr.
Now, just within the last hour, the Wisconsin Department of Justice has released all of the investigative documents that were related to the Tony Robinson case online. They have had some issues with people getting access to them because the amount of traffic that they've had on the site today. That website does show evidence, does show that Officer Kenny did have a concussion as part of his injuries that he sustained in that incident, but that's part of a large amount of evidence that is there online, and the public can now review what Ozan had to review before he made this decision today.
All right, Jessica, live downtown. Thank you very much.
Now our team has been live on Willie Street throughout this announcement today. Matthew Simon is still there where he's sharing words from Tony Robinson's family.
But first, let's go to Valina Jones, who followed a march of Robinson supporters from Willie Street up to the state capitol. Valina?
Yeah, Eric and Michelle, right now we are stopped on West Doty Street where demonstrators are kneeling in prayer right now and taking a time out to speak about Tony Robinson and their memory of him. Right now it's a moment of silence as they are praying and stopped on West Doty Street. They have not yet made it to the Capitol. Again, saying a few words about Tony Robinson and again saying a prayer for him right now. So after this, they're expected to continue to walk towards the Capitol but have not made it there. Expected to make a few comments here at Doty Street and then continue on.
All right, Valina, we may check in with you a little bit later in this newscast. Thanks for that.
Well, let's turn to Matthew Simon, who has more from Tony Robinson's family. Matthew?
Hi there, Eric and Michelle. Willie Street back to normal now, but that was not the scene. About 4:30 this afternoon, the intersection behind me, that's Ingersoll right there, shut down. Protesters were in the street lying down with so much emotion. And then the family spoke. So many emotional moments from them as well. Tony Robinson's family coming out about 20 minutes after they had planned to. Their new attorney saying they received so much information they did not have time to review it. And then the family started talking, and what we heard was a very different story from Ishmael Ozan, a very different story in their view of what the district attorney had said. They think that Officer Kenny had created a confrontation and did not understand why he had fired so many shots when he was outside the house. The most emotional moments coming from Robinson's grandmother, Sharon Irwin, who called Ozan's view today, politics, not justice.
I will miss him the rest of my life. When you guys go home and you don't deal with this anymore, this is a forever thing with me.
And Robinson's uncle, Turin Carter, did speak briefly, saying the DA's view there's not enough evidence to take this to court, has nothing to do with Officer Kenny's guilt or innocence. Before the family walked along Willie Street surrounded by hundreds of supporters, they sent a message to those supporters saying they wanted them to vent their frustrations and anger, but they always, as they headed toward the Capitol, wanted them to remain peaceful. That has been a consistent message from the Robinson family.
A very important message indeed. Matthew Simon along Williamson Street tonight. Matthew, thank you.
The Boys and Girls Club president, Michael Johnson, has really been a voice for the community and an advisor to the Robinson family.
And just moments after the DA's announcement, Michael Johnson called for calm.
The district attorney laid out what the facts are. I think the community will get an opportunity to review those facts, and I think the dialogue now starts. I just hope that as we, as a community, respond, that we make sure that we respond with peaceful intentions.
Also, the head of the Wisconsin Professional Police Association called today's decision appropriate.
Dave DeLozier just spoke with Jim Palmer and is live in downtown Madison with more tonight. Dave.
Yeah, Michelle, you know, up until today, all there was speculation about what happened in that stairwell that night between Tony Robinson and Officer Matt Kenny. The DA today put that speculation to rest. The investigation showed Kenny, a 12-year veteran of the Madison Police Department, shot Robinson after he was assaulted. Officer Kenny, according to the report, was punched in the head by Robinson. Kenny fell backward, lost his balance, and painted a picture of a struggle in that stairwell and the fear by Kenny that he might lose his gun to Robinson and his life.
It was a very harrowing experience and a very tragic outcome. Even though today is the right result, legally speaking, it still doesn't change the fact that today is a tragic outcome, not only for the Robinson family, for Matt Kenny, but also for this community and how we deal with this going forward. And you know, to answer your question, Officer Kenny is looking forward to going back to work. He is very deeply committed to serving this community. This is his calling. This is something he loves to do, and I know he's eager to get back doing the job he loves.
Now, how quickly exactly that will happen remains to be seen. There's obviously the possibility of a civil suit. The criminal possibility obviously was taken off the table today by the DA Ozan, but the civil lawsuit still is a possibility. And exactly what capacity he returns to the Madison Police Department also remains to be seen. Eric and Michelle, back to you.
All right, Dave, thank you very much.
And Madison police officers face serious threats today. Our News 3 investigative reporter Adam Schrager broke this story this afternoon.
And he joins us from the News Center with the very latest on that story. Adam.
Eric and Michelle, members of Madison's Common Council found out about the threats in an email today from Madison Police Department Captain Kristen Roman. She's the community outreach coordinator for the department. She's the link to the city's alders. Her note reads, quote, "We have received information from reliable sources that threats to shoot and kill officers have been made. One such threat involves purported statements from gang members / associates that they intend to riot immediately following the DA announcement, and that threats to attack and to kill the first cop seen have also been levied." Police Chief Mike Koval said his department receives threats with these kinds of events, and while they will vet anything serious, they can't be paralyzed by this kind of response.
You take those things with a grain of salt, because in fact they're being vetted from throughout the country. We've seen this play out. Sometimes they're real and measured, other times they're more open-ended and obtuse. So we'll just take those and develop those intels as those leads would dictate and then deal with them specifically. But we don't want to be alarmist about that, because that isn't the kind of way we police.
Captain Roman's email also detailed how Madison police will handle protesters to the DA's decision going forward. Resisting police will no longer simply be defined by physical combative action, but also by what she called passive responses, like going limp and refusing to move. She asked the Alders to share that information with those they know who may be participating in any protests coming up.
All right, good information there. Adam Schrager reporting for us tonight in the News Center. Adam, thank you.
Our team coverage of the Tony Robinson shooting continues next on News 3 at 6.
Our WISE TV legal expert joins us straight ahead. Stay with us.
You're watching Eric Franke and Michelle Lee. Meteorologist Gary Canalti. And Jay Wilson with sports. This is News 3 at 6.
Continuing coverage of our top story, the decision from Ishmael Ozan not to pursue charges against Officer Matt Kenny for the shooting death of Tony Robinson.
Attorney Chris Van Wagner has been providing us with legal expertise throughout the day and rejoins us now. Chris, thanks for being here again.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. First off, your general thoughts on the legal process that took place here for DA Ishmael Ozan.
Well, he was very detailed in his explanation. I think that was unexpected. He told people he was making a decision based upon whether or not he could prove the case at trial. That's the right decision. I'm a defense attorney. I would normally be locking heads, locking horns with him, but I always want my clients not to be charged unless there's evidence to convict them at trial. So he said that was his legal standard, and he stuck with it. The process from here is different, but up until now, he's been right up front about what he did, whether people are happy or not.
Well, what did you think about his process of how he took 20 minutes when he started before he made that final decision, made a lot of very important points?
Well, I think the most important thing he did was this. He told everybody his story so that they knew he did not come to the table with the kind of bias that somebody else might. He said, I have lived this life. I know racial discrimination. I am aware of the disparities in our own Dane County system, and he therefore established credibility by pointing that out. He's a biracial man, and he said so. And so people looking at his decision cannot say he doesn't know what a young black man goes through. He went through it, and that gave it credibility.
One last question.
Yeah.
Some people on social media said that the DA criminalized Tony Robinson today by going through all that evidence. Was that necessary, and if so, why?
If they view it as criminalization, they're making a mistake, and I understand it, but it's really simple. He had to explain what an on-the-street officer faced in the moment. It's facts and criminalization.
One more thing, just to add to it. You heard Dave Delosier talk about the possibility for a civil suit. How does that change? I know we seem to see this with every case that a civil suit could follow.
Well, I think the next step is they may well ask the U.S. Justice Department and the U.S. Attorney in Madison to look at it, and they will. They did with the Heimsmith case.
Right.
And then they can bring a lawsuit, and they can do what happened in the O.J. case. They can, years later, take depositions of every witness involved and find out what they can find out. It will. I have no doubt it'll follow.
All right. Well, Chris Van Wagner, we appreciate your legal help with us today. Thank you so much for being
glad to be of
service.
service. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, UW, by the way, is offering a place for its students to come together. We know a discussion is being held at the Red Gym right now, and at 8:30, a vigil is planned outside the President's House. That's on the 700 block of State Street. And
Madison College will host an open venue tomorrow as well. Counselors will be there to help anyone looking for support after the decision today. There will be discussions from 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 tomorrow, and it will be at several of the college campuses, including both the downtown and South Madison locations.
All right, we do have some other things to talk about today. Turning to
Michelle, thank you. And recapping today's breaking news, Dane County District Attorney Ishmael Ozan will not charge Madison Police Officer Matthew Kenny in the shooting death of Tony Robinson.
Kenny shot and killed Robinson in March. Since then, protests have popped up in the Madison community. Ozan says Robinson was shot 7 times within 3 seconds and determined Kenny followed state laws for officer-involved deaths. Robinson's mother says she's not surprised but thinks the investigation wasn't thorough enough and a change coming from Madison Police. They tell our Dave Delosier tonight that they will only cite nonviolent protesters tonight. The original plan was to arrest them, but now they are just going to cite them. Of course, stay with us as we continue our coverage online on News 3 at 10 o'clock.
And a final weather recap from Gary, a frost advisory overnight.
Yeah, most of our area under a frost advisory, including Dane County and Madison and areas to the north and to the east. The extended forecast looks for highs back in the 60s for tomorrow and Thursday, 70s on Friday, and then close to 80 for Saturday and Sunday. Chance for a shower or thunderstorm Saturday, better chance on Sunday, and then a little cooler as we head into next week.
All right, Gary, thank you.